Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. We'll chant Om once together. Synchronize the chanting of Om with your exhalation. Breathe in. Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejas vinavadi tamastu mavit vishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Gently open your eyes. We'll chant from verses 61 to 65 of chapter 2. Tani sarvani sanyamya,
Tani sarvani sanyamya,
yukta asita matparaha,
yukta asita matparaha,
vashe hi yasyendriyani,
vashe hi yasyendriyani,
tasya prajna pratisthita,
tasya prajna pratisthita,
dhyayato vishayan pumsaha,
dhyayato vishayan pumsaha,
sangasteshu pajayate,
sangasteshu pajayate,
sangat sanjayate kamaha,
sangat sanjayate kamaha,
kamat krodho bhijayate,
kamat krodho bhijayate,
krodhat bhavati sammohaha,
krodhat bhavati sammohaha,
sammohat smriti vibhramaha,
sammohat smriti vibhramaha,
smriti bhramshat buddhinashaha,
smriti bhramshat buddhinashaha,
buddhinashat pranashyati,
buddhinashat pranashyati,
ragadvesha vimuktaistu,
ragadvesha vimuktaistu,
vishayanindriyaischaran,
vishayanindriyaischaran,
atmavasyairvidheyatma,
atmavasyairvidheyatma,
prasadamadigacchati,
prasadamadigacchati,
prasade sarvadukha
प्रसादे सर्वदुःखानां
हानिरस्योपजायते
हानिरस्योपजायते
प्रसन्नचेतसो ह्याशु
प्रसन्नचेतसो ह्याशु
बुद्धिः पर्यवतिष्ठते.
बुद्धिः पर्यवतिष्ठते.
Hari Om, and a very good day to all of you. So last week we were seeing verse number 63 in more depth. Now, what is interesting is when you read these verses superficially, they give you a certain amount of enjoyment. You feel nice about it. Like a great thinker, he said, whenever I have some issues, whenever I'm down in life, I just pick up the Bhagavad Gita. I open up any chapter, any verse, and I just read the verse and its translation. It immediately gives me a lot of peace of mind. It uplifts my spirits. Now, that is one aspect of the Bhagavad Gita. It's not only of the Bhagavad Gita, but you take any scripture, just reading them superficially itself gives a lot of enjoyment. Whether you understand these truths fully or not, if you just read, from anger arises delusion, from delusion, confusion of memory, from confusion of memory, loss of intellect, from loss of intellect, total destruction. A certain amount of clarity is gained by you. But before you can understand what it is, again the whole thing closes up. Ramatirtha gives a beautiful example. Of course, he gives his example for meditation. He says you have to do your daily sadhana and then gain the experience of enlightenment. But sometimes you may get a glimpse. The same thing is applicable here also. So if you take a water body which is full of moss, now the moss layer actually covers the water, so you cannot see a reflection. But if you just superficially separate the moss with your hands and then you look at the water, you can actually get a glimpse of your reflection. But before you can even get a good picture, good idea of how you look, again the moss will come and cover. Similarly, when you read these verses superficially, they will give you an instant clarity, instant strength. But by the time you get on with life, or within a few minutes, again the moss of your ignorance will come and cover your clarity. The other aspect of these verses, is the deep messages. That is like clearing up the moss, actually cleaning the waters. Once all the moss is cleared, then you get a permanent a reflection Whenever you see the waters, you can see yourself. Similarly, through this yogic approach, when you clear up all the moss of ignorance within you, and you do your personal sadhana, because all these are sadhana tips only. You derive inspiration, you apply all the practical tips. So when you put in that kind of effort, what happens is all your ignorance is removed, all your delusion is removed. And once your ignorance goes away, you get a clear realization of your infinite self. You understand who you are in the true sense of the term. But this process will take a little time, and it also involves a lot of effort from your side. The first way of going about it, that is superficially reading this, superficially studying this, that will be more popular. If you tell your friend to attend these lectures, unless he has some depth, he'll find it difficult to relate to this. Of course, you should never use your filters when you inform people about this. Your duty is just to tell. But who are the people who will sustain in this approach, in this yogic approach? Those who have that depth. Depth means those who are willing to put in that effort to get solutions in life. Those who want instant solutions, they will get excited. It's a wonderful speech and all that. After a while, they will stop seeing. They will stop pursuing this. So remember, in life, you get what you seek. If you have to stay with a master, if you have to learn these great truths from a master, then you should be prepared to put in a lot of effort, hard work. No master worth the name will compromise and give you just superficial truths or cover these texts in a superficial way. A Pandit may do that. A Pandit in the sense, a person who has a mere scholastic knowledge of the scriptures, whom we can call a scholar. If you go to a scholar of Bhagavad Gita, he may translate it for you, he may give you some meaning of these verses, but that is not going to really transform you. He may even put it in a very interesting way, which will entertain your mind. But a true sadhak will not be happy with all that. See, if you're a true sadhak, how can you be happy when you just merely understand, from delusion the confusion of memory comes. And then the intellect goes away, total destruction. Even the positive aspect, you are the infinite. Now, if your understanding is superficial, you will feel so happy when you hear these kind of truths, and then you will stop your efforts there. You will start repeating it. I gave you the example of that small boy who was repeating that exercise, Who are you? Who are you? He went on repeating. Now, that is one level. But a true sadhak will get actually disturbed when he reads the scriptures. When a master comes and tells a sadhak, you are the infinite, if that sadhak is genuine, if the sadhak has the depth, that will disturb him. He will start spending sleepless nights. Why is the master saying I am the infinite? I am experiencing myself as a body. Then how can he say I am the infinite? That will not allow you to sleep. When I say that will not allow you to sleep, I am putting it in a positive sense, You will want to put in more effort. You will want to understand it in depth. You will not be happy with a mere superficial understanding. You will want a practical realization of these things. When I came across a simple truth that wherever a desire is obstructed, there will be anger, for example. Now, that was very difficult for me to understand. In the sense, superficial understanding, instantly I could see what they meant. But to see that every anger, every irritation which you have is because of some expectation, some desire which you're developing, to actually see that, happening within you, that takes a while. You will have to do sadhana. So, when we were seeing the buddhi last week, I gave you the different aspects of buddhi. The first aspect was intellect and the three facets of the intellect: the analysis, the decision making, and the awareness. I'll come to that. I'll give you more subtle points regarding that. But that is the second and third aspect, which is the second aspect which I gave you, was knowledge. The capacity to gain information, the capacity to gain knowledge. And the third aspect was the capacity to understand through manana, a reflection. Those two things is what I'm talking about now. So you have three phases of ignorance. The first phase of ignorance is I do not know. When you do not know, then using the intellect, that is this aspect of the knowledge aspect, the capacity to gain knowledge, you can actually overcome that barrier of ignorance. You can either read a book or you can listen to a lecture, maybe just a superficial lecture, but some information you will get. And when you get that information, now that barrier of ignorance would have been broken. Earlier you didn't know, now you know. Most of the seekers actually stop with that. I would say more than 90-95% of the seekers, they are happy just in knowing these things externally. But if you're a little more deep, you will not be satisfied with that. The second phase of ignorance, that is, I know, but I don't understand. So if you're deep, if you have that depth, what will happen? The moment you satisfy the first phase of ignorance, that is, you overcome the first barrier, now the second barrier will get activated. Yes, I know so much, but what have I understood? The moment you ask that question, it means you've started going a little more deep. Your intellect has started getting awakened more. So I know, but I don't understand. Now, what is the process of overcoming that barrier of ignorance? Not by gaining more knowledge, but by doing manana or reflection on the knowledge which you've already gained. When you move from the first barrier of ignorance to the second barrier of ignorance, that is from I don't know to I don't understand, then your focus will shift from gaining more information to reflecting, contemplating upon whatever knowledge you have gained. That is a very powerful shift. Very less people move from the first level to the second level. The manana level itself nobody gets into. You may ask me why? Because there is a tendency to just be superficial. The mind has this weakness of entertainment. See, even when you see movies, you see what are the kind of movies which become super hits. Those movies which are action-packed, which are more superficial. The movies which have real depth, they, those movies are acclaimed by the critics. But when it comes to the success part, the commercial success part, it is very less. Why is that? Because the mind has this weakness. It likes entertainment, it likes superficiality. It lacks the capacity to focus on one thing and go deep. So as a sadhak, you need to develop that. When you take this yogic approach, once you taste the depth, thereafter you cannot go back to your old ways, which is running from one place to another in search of knowledge, reading too many books. All these things will mean nothing to you. If it's happening it means you're developing, you're on the right track. In the initial stages, you will learn from one source, then your mind will want some variety, so it will learn from another source. Learn means gain information. Then you will compare, what is given here, what is given here, why is this person saying? You may not even ask why, but you will start comparing. All these things will be there. But when you get to the second phase, which is the manana part, then you will, if more information is given to you, you will say, wait a minute, let me reflect on whatever has been first given to me. In order to activate this aspect of the intellect only, I am asking you to recapitulate these points after the lecture is over. See, one thing is, as I am talking to you, you can write down your notes. You can write down your points. That is still at the first level. Now you all should move to the next level. That is why I said, don't write any notes while you're listening to the lectures. Just absorb. It's a practice. It is a sadhana. So absorb fully, and then after the session is over, sit for about 10 minutes. Don't immediately rush into your activity, just sit for 10 minutes and recapitulate the points and write them down. The first sadhana of listening to these discourses, Shravana, will activate this aspect of the intellect. It will increase your capacity to gain more knowledge. This exercise which I am asking you to do, recapitulating, that will activate the next facet of the intellect. That is the ability to understand. It will also activate the Smriti Shakti, the ability to recall, remember. And then, that's why I asked you to put your points in the comment section. Even if it is 1 or 2 points, even if you're just writing 1 point or 2 points, whatever you have absorbed when you write, there is a pran shakti in that, So when one lady wrote to me saying that, "Sir, can I mention all the points which I have absorbed? Will you will you go through those points?" I immediately said, yes. Why only her? Anybody who does it, it becomes the Guru's duty to guide. It's a very, very powerful sadhana, absorbing and then recollecting. So when you recollect, you are actually activating the Smriti Shakti. And it is when you interact with the Guru in that way, when you express yourself without thinking of whether you are right or wrong, you are giving yourself an opportunity to get guided by the Master in a deeper way. You are also awakening all the faculties, the inner faculties within you. Because these are the things which will really, really be helpful to you when you tackle your problems in the world, when we go to the deeper aspects of sadhana, that is the higher meditations and all that. These faculties which you will be awakening through this process, these are the faculties which will come and help you. So when I read those comments, I don't go by the words which are used. See, always remember, whenever you go to a master, he will never go by your expressions. He will immediately see what is the energy behind those expressions. A student, a sadhak who is not bothered to impress the master, such a sadhak alone will grow fast, because it is only by making mistakes you can learn. And when will you not be afraid to make mistakes? When you have nothing to hide. When you know that the master can see through, what is there to hide? The moment you want to hide something from the master, it means you are judging him. You are thinking he will be judgmental. A true master instantly recognizes. He is like a wind, the breeze which keeps blowing. When you open the window, he will enter and he will guide and he will enlighten your life. But if you choose to close the window, he is not going to sit there and say, "Why are you closing? Open it," and all that. He will go to the next window. Whichever window is open, he will freely flow there and, energize. So this manana aspect is a is a very, very important aspect of the intellect. You need to awaken that. See, when he says from confusion of memory, the buddhi will go away. I'm side by side telling you the positive things also. We'll be seeing that in the next couple of verses. After giving the ladder of fall, he will, in general terms, he will tell you how to rise, and then again he will continue with the ladder of fall. It's very interesting. So when we are studying the ladder of fall, it is very important for you to understand the sadhana by which you can overcome that particular issue. So when he says laws of intellect, how do you awaken the intellect? That also I am covering. The laws of buddhi, So first is gain information. Next is, that is Shravana. Shravana means listening. Even reading is also included. As far as you're concerned, every Sunday you're watching this. This is the best source of knowledge which you're getting. But if you're connected with the Master, then you will understand his deeper motives. He will not make you rest with mere knowledge. The yogic approach itself is structured in such a way that you will be forced to reflect. Either you will get into manana or you will stop watching this. That is the beauty of yogic approach. Now, side by side, in order to awaken the Smriti Shakti, I'm asking you to recapitulate after the lectures. I also gave you one more sadhana, that is whenever you get some spare time, just look at the objects in the room where you are and then close your eyes and recollect. That will also be very useful. As we go along, as and when the context comes, I'll be giving you small practices like that. So whenever you get time, put them into practice. You will find a lot of changes happening within you. When you get to the manana stage, that is the second barrier of ignorance, you will start breaking. Then, as you start breaking the second barrier, a deep quest will start coming within you. And that is the third barrier of ignorance. I know, I understand very well, but I don't have an experience. I want to experience God. I want to experience the infinite. For a person who has traveled the path, who has broken the first two stages of ignorance, for that person alone, the third facet will open up. And when such a person seeks God, he or she will seek God from his innermost self. It will not be a very mere superficial seeking. That is when you have become a true sadhak. In the first two stages, you are in the process of becoming a sadhak. But when you move to the third stage, that is when you will want an experience. If you go to the Upanishads, the masters say, how can you realize God? He says, one who seeks Brahman will get Brahman. Will get Brahman means will get that experience of Brahman. Seeking. Upanishads are meant for those people who have crossed the first two barriers of ignorance, who have come to the third level. For such people, the Upanishads is applicable. Upanishads are not to be studied merely intellectually. There we have to apply the yogic approach. Each mantra in the Upanishads actually can transport you to a different frequency. They are all meant to make you more meditative. That process is called nididhyasana. Nididhyasana means installing these principles in the deepest layers of your mind that cannot be done merely through reflection. The nididhyasana is a special sadhana process. When we do the meditation every Sunday, by the end of the session, I many a times use this principle of nididhyasana to install the principles in the deeper layers of your mind. So when we did the finite to infinite, I had the 5-day program which we had last year. If you remember, I made you practice a lot of nididhyasana. In this 22-day program which we are going to have, it's going to start tomorrow, a lot of this nididhyasana sadhana will be done to install many things in the deeper layers of your mind. So nididhyasana is not exactly an aspect of the intellect. It is beyond the intellect. Intellect is up to the manana level. But when we talk of experiencing, experience is different from intellectual understanding. So that is the sadhana of the consciousness. It is a sadhana of the higher Shakti, higher energy. You cannot do nididhyasana sadhana on your own. For that, you need to get the empowerment from a master. When you go to your master and when he sees that you are ready according to your level of receptivity, he will keep on empowering you at every level into the nididhyasana process. That is called energy transfer. He will give you a direct experience. According to your level of receptivity and development, you will get an experience. What is essentially the difference between yogic approach and a mere intellectual approach? In the yogic approach, the master gives you that experience also. The master gives you knowledge. The master gives you the structures it in such a way and gives you various practical tips for you to do manana, reflection, and so that you can put all those things into practice in your day-to-day life. And he also gives you the energy, the Shakti, the energy transfer happens so that you get a direct experience. So that here is not covered here because that is beyond the intellect, but I am just mentioning to you because that covers the whole thing, the Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. So the Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana, listening, that is gaining knowledge, the reflection, and then the Nididhyasana, that is deep yogic practices. I would say they are kind of psycho-yogic techniques by which you install the principles in the deeper layers of your mind. Now these three put together, that is called Nyana Yoga. In the previous verse number 62, he talked about the emotions and the modification the various modifications of the emotions. And I gave you a lot of tips how you can overcome all those modifications. That is called Bhakti Yoga. Purifying your emotions is Bhakti Yoga. Gaining clarity and clairvoyance is Nyana Yoga. So even the bhajans and any kind of devotional pujas, all those things are meant to purify your emotions. Some people do pujas out of fear. That is the most foolish thing to do. Any ritual which these great masters have prescribed, that particular ritual is only meant to purify your emotions. So you should use the various techniques to purify your emotions. Then you're practicing Bhakti Yoga. Nyana Yoga is when you develop clarity and clairvoyance. When you do Shravana and Manana, you develop clarity. When you practice Nididhyasana, the third eye opens, the Jnana Chakshu, the Agnya Chakra, the energy center. That is at the pranic level. At each level, there is a different name for the third eye. At the highest level, that is called Shambhavi. So when the inner eye, the third eye opens, you gain what is called as clairvoyance. It is beyond logic. You gain an aerial view of life. So this constitutes the practice of Jnana Yoga. Every yoga you need to practice. You need to practice Bhakti Yoga. You need to practice Jnana Yoga. You need to practice Karma Yoga. The next chapter is going to be fully on Karma Yoga only. Even in this chapter, he did mention in one of the earlier verses, Karmanyeva adhikaraste. Your right is with action, not with the fruit thereof. That is a very powerful principle of Karma Yoga only. Then you have to do Hatha Yoga also. Because you have a physical body and you are acting, you have emotions, you have intellect. All these aspects are a part of you. So you cannot neglect any aspect of the sadhana. There is nothing like, should I practice Jnana Yoga or should I practice Bhakti Yoga? If anybody asks this question, he has neither understood Jnana Yoga nor has he understood Bhakti Yoga. That's what it means. So, the buddhi gets lost. All these faculties, the faculties of Shravana, Manana, they get lost. And when these two get covered by delusion, then there is no question of the process of Nididhyasana being awakened, because that is beyond the intellect. And your presence of mind goes away. And when we saw the intellect, the three aspects, the analysis, decision making and awareness. So your analytical capacity goes away, or you may go on analyzing without taking any decisions in life. You may get into that syndrome. It is actually a disease. Over-analysis is a disease. So either people don't analyze at all, they are highly impulsive. They don't think, Like one man long back, he told me, "Sir, I first act, then only I think." And the way he was saying it was, he was so proud about it, I told him, what is there to be proud about this? It's a very foolish thing. How can you act and then think? It should be reverse. You should think and then act. So either people are very impulsive or they go on analyzing without coming to any conclusion. So remember, your analysis is to help you take decisions in life. So find out which aspect of the intellect you need to develop. Are you a person who is very impulsive in life, or are you a person who is over analytical without coming to any decisions? Some people are like that. You just ask them a simple question. Shall we go to a movie, or shall we go to the beach today? They'll go on analyzing. Beach, what is the climate? If we go to the beach, will we enjoy? Movie, which movie will we go? For half an hour, they'll keep analyzing. They will never come to a conclusion. So are you suffering from that disease? So if you are suffering from that disease, it means the moha has overtaken the intellect. You have become over analytical. If you are highly impulsive in life, it means again moha has overtaken you in that aspect. So by doing the small homework, the sadhana of finding out which aspect of your intellect you need to develop, that itself gives you the strength to come out of moha. That's why I'm giving you these sadhana tips and as homeworks, and I'm saying do this homework and come back next week. Am I gaining anything out of that? Nothing. But you have everything to gain if you practice all these sincerely. And then the awareness aspect. So awareness is very much related to the next dimension of the intellect, which I will explain now. The other dimension of the buddhi is returning to consciousness. Buddhi also means that which makes you return to consciousness. See, if you see the meaning of moha, it's delusion. One dimension of moha, what did I tell you? Out of many dimensions I gave you, almost 6 dimensions, right? One dimension is loss of consciousness. Do you all remember that? If your Smriti Shakti is active, you will remember that. The loss of consciousness. Now, one aspect of buddhi is returning to consciousness, coming back to consciousness. It is a very powerful mechanism of the buddhi. Very, very interesting. This will be so useful to you. Whenever you make a mistake, you become a victim of your own mind, and your expectations, your desires, everything go out of control. Your stress factor increases. A lot of modifications like anger, fear, everything you develop, you get into a state of moha. Then moha will pull you down. What do we mean by pulling you down? It means it will decrease your level of consciousness. See, how do we determine the degree of evolution of any organism? It is with respect to consciousness. See, if you take plants, they are also living beings. The consciousness factor is less. Consciousness expresses itself in a lesser way. And then if you take the animals, now there you find the consciousness expresses in birds and animals much more than how the consciousness expresses itself in plants. And then when it comes to human beings, there is a maximum expression of consciousness. So when you get into moha, you start devolving. There is a loss of consciousness. If let's say you have 70% today, now that will start reducing to 60, 50, 40, which means you will start devolving. Even though you may have a human body, you will become like an animal after a while, like a person who is caught up with the modification of, let us say, greed, lobha, which we saw in the previous verse. Now, let's say a person is very, very greedy about acquiring wealth. Per se, acquiring wealth, there's nothing wrong with it. You should acquire, you should be more wealth, you should become very wealthy, and in order to do your duties properly, you require wealth. Yeah, you should become financially independent. I did mention in when I answered one gentleman's question a few weeks back, that isn't all fine. But when you become greedy about wealth, such a person, slowly, if you observe him, he will become like an animal. He will do anything in order to acquire wealth. For him, then, relationships will not matter. He will not mind cheating his dear friend in order to acquire money, which means his consciousness level has started reducing. He is no longer a human being. You take any modification, you take anger. When a person's anger goes on increasing, his consciousness level starts reducing because the delusion takes over. After a while, he'll start devolving. And if you continue in that, in the same path, after a while, from an animal, you will become plant-like. It's a very mechanical, plant-like life you lead. Even though you may be having a human body. So, buddhi, one aspect of buddhi, so just as when the moment you get caught up with moha, the moha starts decreasing your level of consciousness. But buddhi has this aspect within you which tries to pull the consciousness back. How does it do it? We saw the intellect has this aspect of awareness. The inherent capacity to be aware in you, that triggers or activates the conscience within you. Conscience is that facet, that faculty within you, which always points towards the truth. It keeps telling you what is right, what is wrong. Nobody needs to tell you what is right and what is wrong. You yourself know. If you are out of tune with your conscience, then that can get covered. You may lose clarity. But if you just sit quietly and activate the conscience, that will guide you clearly. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to avoid. Till your conscience is fully developed, you may require external guidance from a master. A master actually is a reflection of your conscience only. Whenever you don't follow your conscience, he'll come and tell you, listen, you're going in the wrong path. Get on with the right path. So that conscience is activated. Whenever you're aware, the conscience is activated. When you don't have awareness, the conscience is not activated. When your conscience is activated, now that tries to pull you back to normalcy. It tries to raise your level of consciousness. See, there is a difference between conscience and consciousness. First of all, most people get confused and they use wrong terminologies. Conscience means that faculty within you which tells what is right and what is wrong. Consciousness means that supreme awareness. One person had posted a question many weeks back. I have not yet answered that. I thought when the time comes I'll answer. That is he was asking the difference between awareness and consciousness. Generally, both actually mean the same only. That is, from the highest standpoint, pure awareness means pure consciousness. But when it comes to relative practice, we use the word awareness. We always say practice awareness. We don't say practice consciousness. We will not say that. So consciousness is a state. Awareness is a practice. So when you go on practicing being more and more aware, when you increase the awareness faculty within you, the end point of awareness, that is pure awareness, that is called consciousness. So what is the difference between a sthita prajna, because we are doing this under sthita prajna, remember that, and an ordinary person? In a sthita prajna, the consciousness has been fully awakened. When your consciousness is fully awakened, you become enlightenment. You become enlightened. You become a Buddha. Buddha means, it's taken from buddhi, consciousness. That is, you're returning to consciousness. A Buddha is a person who has returned fully to that supreme state of consciousness. Till you reach that state, you are in some state of moha. Very interesting. In one of the Upanishads, the master gives the powerful energy blast in one mantra, and the student, when he does a sadhana, he gets a very powerful experience of God, of divinity. He is one step short of realization, of enlightenment, And the student becomes very happy with that. He thinks that is the highest. Immediately the master says, this may be wonderful, but this is not the highest. Whatever you're experiencing is not the highest. A little more, you have to expand. And he guides the student through the sadhana to awaken the consciousness fully. Unless and until the consciousness expands and becomes one with the infinite consciousness, you have not yet got enlightened. So, this is a powerful mechanism which is there in the buddhi. That is why they said a person who has awakened the consciousness is called a Buddha. Buddha means awakened one. Many Buddhas were there. Gautam Siddhartha, the Siddhartha who was the king who became Buddha, he became famous. But many Buddhas, anybody who gets enlightened, who gets awakened, is called a Buddha in the yogic parlance. Now, this is the natural nature, this aspect is there in the buddhi. So when you're overpowered with moha, immediately this aspect of the buddhi starts functioning. The awareness triggers the conscience and it tries to pull you back to normalcy. It tries to uplift your consciousness. Now there is a tussle. If you don't do your sadhana, the moha will increase in its force and it will overpower the intellect. Then the intellect after a while will be unable to pull your consciousness. up. That is what he means by loss of intellect. Buddhi nashat. Buddhi nasha means it loses the ability to pull your consciousness up. When that happens, he says, Buddhi nashat pranashyati, total destruction. That is why last week I told you the way to come out of moha is devotion and surrender. When your own buddhi is unable to pull yourself, pull your consciousness up, then you require the help of a guru. The word guru means guru, darkness and light. One who brings in light where there is darkness. How does he bring in that light? When you require knowledge, information, he gives you knowledge. When you require understanding, he makes you do the manana, reflection. When you require the experience, he gives you the energy, the shakti, and gives you a direct experience. Whenever you are doing over-analysis, he asks you not to analyze. When you are being impulsive, he will ask you to analyze. When your awareness, your presence of mind reduces, he will push you to be more alert in life. When your very consciousness is getting lowered and your buddhi, your faculties are unable to pull that consciousness up, then the guru lends his shakti, the divine energy, and helps you pull back the consciousness. That is called the empowerment. Every seeker, when they used to approach the great siddhas, if you go to the Upanishads, if you read the Puranic stories, they used to get empowered by the masters. Whenever the consciousness was down, the masters used to help them by raising the consciousness. So either you can handle it on your own, or you should take higher guidance, help from the higher. If you fail to do both, then from laws of intellect, pranashyati, he says, buddhinashat pranashyati. To say I can handle everything on my own, it's usually the ego. The greatest of masters never said that. No point in saying, did Ramana Maharishi have a guru? Did this person have a guru? Are you at that level first? Ramana Maharishi, he did so much of tapas in his previous births, and his starting point itself was at a different level. Similarly, many yogis. So you can't just merely emulate what they are doing. This is what is the principle of spirituality. You may lose anything in life, you can get it back. But if you lose your consciousness, then that will lead to destruction, he says. Pranashyati. Nashyati means destruction. Pranashyati means total destruction, intensity. Pra means very, very intense. I will give you some sadhana tips from when he says, from laws of intellect, total destruction. What does he mean by pranashyati, we'll see. And then from there, certain practical sadhana tips also I'll give you. Start practicing them in your life. You will find that you will start evolving automatically. So, nashyati, First, nashyati means destruction. I'm giving you a few dimensions of nashyati as a sadhak. If you understand these dimensions, and then the practical tips, if you if you receive and go and practice, even if you're in the state of total destruction in any particular area of your life, you can quickly overcome with help, with the grace of the higher. You can start evolving. That is the beauty. So the first dimension of nashyati is destruction. The second dimension of nashyati means to disappear. When something has disappeared, has got lost, we can say. That is also a dimension of nashyati. The third dimension of nashyati is to become invisible. There's a difference between something getting destroyed and something being invisible. When you destroy an object, that goes away. When some object becomes invisible, it means that object is there in front of you, but you are unable to see it. That is what it means. So each of these dimensions give you a sadhana tip, which is what we will see. So what is the first dimension? Destruction. So when you are caught up with moha, your individuality, your uniqueness gets destroyed. Your personality gets destroyed. I gave you the many examples when we were discussing how the word bhavati, how when you become the emotion, you lose yourself. Your personality gets destroyed. What do we mean by personality? See, each one of you are a unique creation in this universe, a unique part of creation in this universe. You have unique talents. See, supposing two of you are seeing together now, you are still two individuals who are watching this. If 100 people are watching this right now, each one will receive in his or her own way. If you ask all the 100 people to repeat what I've said, each one will say one thing. They may be similar, but they can never be exactly same. Why? Because each one is unique. You are unique. You have your own set of skills, your own set of talents. The first sadhana, or a very basic sadhana, which is suggested by the yogis, by the siddhas, is to discover your personality. Before you discover the infinite aspect within you, first you need to discover your personality, which means you have to study the finite aspect. What are your unique talents? What are your unique skills? Later on, Krishna will be using the word swadharma. Swadharma means my own nature, my own talents. When we come there also, I'll explain in detail. So you need to locate them and express them, develop those talents, develop those skills more and more, and become really good, or I would say become extraordinary in whatever you are good at, in whatever talents you have. True education is helping a child identify his or her uniqueness, unique talents, and helping the child to grow in that field, not stuffing information into the child's head. So when the moha takes over, when the intellect goes away, is as nashyati, pranashyati, total destruction. The total destruction means it is a reference to destruction of your talents, destruction of your personality. When you don't grow your talents and skills, then you are actually destroying yourself. You're destroying your personality. That is why I tell all the parents, when you love your child unconditionally, you will allow the child to grow in his or her way. You will not impose your personality on the child. See, generally, if a father is a doctor, he wants his son also to be a doctor. If a father is an engineer, he wants his son also to be an engineer. Mother is a dancer, want all the children to be dancers. I know one girl, she came to me, she said her mother is a lawyer. She's forcing her to be, if mother is forcing her to become a lawyer, tremendous pressure. I asked her, what do you want to do? She says, I want to become a writer. I want to do literature. I want to study literature. And I want to write novels. And her mother is not allowing. What is there in literature, she says. Just because she does not have a talent or interest in literature, she feels literature itself is useless. Please understand, this is a message to all the parents and all the teachers. Don't destroy your children. I know that is not your intention, but unknowingly sometimes we do wrong things, A master comes into your life not to make you into somebody else. He comes into your life to make you flower in your own way. A rose should flower like a rose. A jasmine should flower like a jasmine. A rose should never flower like a jasmine. It should not try to do that. Then the rose will no longer be a rose. It will die. A jasmine should flower like a jasmine. It should not try to be like a rose. Then the beauty of the jasmine will go away. Similarly, you should flower in your own way. A true guru helps the student to flower in his or her own way. A guru comes into your life for this process initially. The first thing, if at all a goal is there in that relationship, the first goal is to help the student flower beautifully, bloom, A guru never takes the student out of his life into some other artificial lifestyle. No. A guru actually enriches the student's life. That is only a true guru. One of the strong advice, one of the principles which these yogis have given is that never follow what a master does. Do what he says. There is a reason behind it. Whatever a master does is according to his uniqueness. That may not suit you. See, generally there is a tendency, when you go to a guru, slowly you will start doing whatever the Guru does rather than what he says. That is a dangerous trap. You should not fall into that. So the sadhana tip from this word nashyati, which we get, the first sadhana tip is, don't destroy your uniqueness, your personality. Identify what unique talents you have. So you have come into this world in order to contribute something. And you will contribute in your way. Your neighbor will contribute in his or her way. Don't try to copy anybody. This tendency to copy, this tendency to imitate destroys your personality. And that tendency to imitate comes from moha, delusion, because you are not happy being yourself. One actor in a movie has a particular hairstyle. Immediately I see thousands of people having the same hairstyle without any reference to what hairstyle will look good on me. They just go on imitating. One actress in a movie wears a particular sari, a particular color sari. Now immediately there is a big demand in the market, the same type of sari we want. And the makers also, they sell lakhs and lakhs of that particular sari. See, there is no thinking at all. If incidentally that sari suits you and you take, that's a different matter. Incidentally, if that hairstyle is suiting you, that's a different matter. But usually there is no thinking. So the sadhana which you need to practice is just be yourself. You have a beauty. You are unique. If you express yourself in a natural way, there is a beauty about it. Why do you want to copy and imitate others? When you do that, your personality gets destroyed. Why do you want your child to be like somebody else? Once a mother brought her son to me and she said, "Sir, I want you to bless my son." I said, "Is it his birthday?" Or, No, sir. I just want you to bless him with these words." She's giving me a dialogue. She says, "This line you should say when you're blessing him." I said, "What line?" "You should become like Rama, Lord Ram." I said, "Why? You don't want him to become like Lord Kartikeya, Lord Muruga. You don't want him to become like Krishna." She is a very, she's a devotee of Lord Rama, So she's telling me, "So please bless him, let him become like Rama. May you become like Rama." So I said, "Okay, bring him, I'll bless him." I blessed him. You know how? Become yourself. His mother was shocked. Yeah, this whole thing, I dramatized it. I went along with her and said, "I will bless your son" and all that. Not for the son's sake. I wanted to give her a message. So why do you want your son? Lord Rama may have been a great personality. He was the incarnation of Lord Vishnu. But then Lord Rama alone can be Lord Rama. Even Krishna cannot be like Rama. Rama cannot be Krishna. Have you ever seen Krishna trying to imitate Rama or Rama trying to imitate Krishna? Even among masters, they don't do that. You cannot interchange. You may say, learn some good qualities from Lord Rama. Learn good qualities from everybody. That is different. But to say, that become like someone, you are actually, that is not a blessing, that is a curse. Nobody in this entire humanity, I'm talking of in the history of humanity, nobody has ever been exactly like you, and nobody will exactly be like you in the future. Right now, you are a unique part of this creation. Flower in your way. So do that sadhana. One homework which I gave you is find out the which aspect of the intellect which you need to develop. The other sadhana, which is a very powerful sadhana, is find out which aspect of your personality has been destroyed. Find out your own skills and talents, what you are good at. I will stop with that today. The other two aspects, that is the getting lost and that is disappearing, and then the becoming invisible, they are also very powerful aspects, powerful dimensions that I will cover the coming weeks. Because each one you need to practice and make it a part of your system. Then when more is given, you will absorb this much better. So we'll stop with that today. Just a few announcements are there. The first announcement is about tomorrow. We are starting the 22-day powerful empowerment program on the ancient secrets of health. Now, a lady has asked me this question as to whether people who are not registered can watch this. My answer to that is, first of all, you should not ask this question at all. I know you asked this with a very good intention only, but as sadhaks, you should not ask this question at all. See, when a registration has been kept, there is a lot of thinking behind it. For certain empowerments, an exchange of energy is required. Only then the student will get the benefit. That is why all this registration, all this has been kept. So if after the registration has been kept, you are asking, should a person who is non-registered, can he or she see it? Obviously no. That person, see, I am focusing on those sadhaks who have registered, who have committed and who have gone through that process of registration, and so I'll be empowering them. Lot of energy, Shakti is going to be given. And if a person does not register and if he or she does those meditations, they will not be able to handle that energy. It is dangerous also. That is why I'm saying. See, if as a husband and wife, if you're watching this, you're a husband and wife, that is a separate relationship. But as far as your relationship with the Guru is concerned, the husband is a student, independent student, the wife is an independent student, son is an independent student, the boss is an independent student, the employee is an independent student. You have an independent relationship. You cannot combine both, So my request is, kindly respect preserve the sanctity of this course, because empowerments are are kept as secrets actually by these great yogis. Whatever I'm going to reveal, these were all kept as secrets because they awaken a lot of powers from within. So for a particular reason, I've got the higher calling got instructions from the higher to reveal it to you all. So I have put many barriers like registration, so many things, so many conditions. That is a process of filtering. A person who overcomes all that and attends, and who has that willingness to commit for 22 days, such a person becomes worthy to receive this, So we cannot dabble with that. Please don't dabble with that. Not only that, you will lose your energy also. You will not receive the energy properly. When your motive is not okay, how will you receive the energy? See what happened to Karna. He lied to his guru and he learned. But then he was cursed. At the time when you require this knowledge most, you will forget, said his guru. His guru said means that the law of karma, functioning. So please, for your own good, don't, if this thought itself should not come into your mind. Spirituality means truthfulness and straightforwardness. I am telling you whatever I have practiced in life, and what these great yogis and siddhas have practiced, and that is what they have prescribed to us. So let us be very straightforward, okay? And from tomorrow onwards, those who are attending the 22 days, you don't need to do the Yoga Sankirtan sadhana. I think the other instructions, everything have already been posted in the WhatsApp group meant for the registered sadhaks, registered participants. So follow all that, and also do your exercises. The rest of the things we will be seeing during the course. So that course will be containing 4 parts, 6 days, and then you have 3 days, and then some break, and then you have a question answer session, and final healing meditation also will be there. So we are going to do immense sadhana. When you do it, you will know. Very deep empowerment and healing meditations are going to be done. So I am sure you have prepared yourself well. So have a good night's sleep today, and so that you will be fresh for tomorrow's start of tomorrow's. There is a 22-day program, from tomorrow. Okay, so now we'll do the meditation. Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. With every breath, I am going deeper and deeper into myself. I am not this body. I am not these various emotions. I am not this buddhi, the intellect. I am that supreme infinite consciousness. From this moment onwards, I choose to purify my emotions. From this moment onwards, I choose to develop clarity, leading to clairvoyance. I am Swayam Prakashit, self-illuminating. I have infinite powers within me. Offer your gratitude to God Supreme. Offer your gratitude to your Guru and all the holy masters. Slowly come back. Wriggle your fingers, your toes. Rub your palms together to create a warmth. Cup your eyes with your palms. Gently rub your eyes, your cheeks, forehead, the top of the head, the back of the head and neck. Slowly open your eyes. Welcome back. So today we had a very powerful session. A lot of things which have been said are all very, very powerful principles. So if you start practicing them, you'll find a lot of changes happening within you, and your ability, as your sharpness increases, as your faculties start developing, your ability to handle your problems, your ability to face challenges in life will start increasing. Okay? Even though we are having this 22-day program from tomorrow, every Sunday is a rest day for the registered participants, and we'll be having these Sunday sessions as usual. So next Sunday I'll be giving you the other aspects of explaining the other dimensions of Pranashyati. When you're doing the sadhana of the Kaya Tattva, the health program, you will be getting a lot of inputs from that program. So Sunday you devote to the manana of whatever is given on the Sunday lectures, just for these 22 days. The other days you need to devote to absorb those principles. And some people have asked about, can we take a break and all that. I think it's already been given in the instructions. I'm not giving any break during the sessions. So in case you want to take a bio break just before the meditation and all that, you can pause the video. You can pause it for 5 minutes, take a break and again come back. Just suit your convenience. And each session will be kept for 20 hours, considering the different time zones, because people from different countries are participating in this. So choose one time every day and stick to that and go through the course. Okay? So thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.